Bryan.
Thanks a lot, Charlie. I'm here at Bridgestone Arena after a 4-3 win by the Nashville Predators over that's right, Edmonton Oilers to break the long losing streak and get back in the win column for just the third time in the month of December. Now, the topic of tonight is going to be unsung heroes. Not the big money guys, the guys we talk about almost every game, but these are the guys that came through, especially when people were doubting them or they just have had a rough season. So let's start this edition of One Big Stat right now. First stat is unsung hero number one, Dante Fabro. Now, one of the things that you might have noticed about Dante Fabro is, well, or may not have noticed, is that you probably didn't see him do very much during the game. And for a defenseman, if you don't notice a guy playing, that's a very good sign. Dante Fabro had an excellent game at 5-on-5 tonight, leading all Predators with about an 80% expected goal percentage, which meant that almost 80% of the shot quality that came on the ice while the Predators were on the ice was when he was there. So Dante Fabro, with a lot of critics, people have been a little bit critical of his play, but Dante Fabro had probably as good of a game from a defenseman as you could possibly expect. Number two, Cody Glass. Now, this one maybe not be unsung since Coach John Hines had just talked about him, but Cody Glass and his line of Nino Niederreiter and Tanner Jeannot had an excellent game. Now, statistically, they graded about pretty average, and we'll talk a little bit more about that line here in a minute, but they played against McDavid, Hyman, and Draisaitl all night long. And they managed to stay almost even with them, just maybe one shot behind them while they were on the ice with that thing. So you held Draisaitl to 2 points, or to McDavid with 2 points and Draisaitl to 0. That's impressive. And this is a guy that, again, John Hines praised after the game, saying that, he wasn't quite ready for this type of responsibility at the beginning of the season, but he came back working harder than ever. And he's had two fantastic games against Edmonton, even if the first one didn't end very well. The third unsung hero, and this was a fun one, but, I think I've been very, very impressed by Jordan Gross, and I've been talking about that. I talked a little bit about that during the game. This is another guy that we saw, just like Alex Carrier last year, who came into the lineup, started by getting pretty much top pair minutes with Roman Josi, and has done an amazing job. Yes, now he got added another goal tonight, which is fantastic, but I can't remember a single play where he wasn't playing smart, wasn't in a good position, and didn't play to the best of he could. And so, again, kudos to him. He has come up and he has done everything asked of him, and I think it's going to result in him staying in Nashville for quite some time now. And one last unsung hero, and this is maybe a new one for me, but I'm going to say it. It's head coach John Hines. A lot was made before and during the game about the lines that he had chosen to do, especially by putting Forsberg and Granlund and Tommy Novak on the quote-unquote fourth line. But those lines all worked. I mean, it worked extremely well. Glass's line, like I talked about earlier, was the only line that didn't finish above 50% in shot quality share. But again, they only finished one shot behind the McDavid line. The rest of them, all above. And they all outshot the Oilers when they were on the ice. These lines were set up a very specific way to counter a very specific situation, and it worked. And another thing that I noticed, to credit John Hines, and he spoke about that in postgame, is this team looked completely different in transition. I mean, this was a team that was moving the puck better. They weren't doing quite as many drop passes where they were waiting for guys to come up. This transition game looked better, and they have been practicing that for about the last week, and they started to kind of implement that against Winnipeg, and we saw a little bit more against Colorado, but this looks like a different team. Now, yes, there are still some issues. The power play is still a problem, even though they did get one finally, which is fantastic. John Hines says he'll take that one any way he can get it. But this was a game that John Hines game planned and got the win because of his game plan. And you have to give credit where credit is due. He has to be feeling all that pressure out there right now, especially from Predators fans. And he game planned this one to perfection just 6 days after losing to Edmonton 6-3. So yes, those were my unsung heroes tonight, and be happy, go out there and enjoy yourself, because it feels like a Christmas miracle. But if Nashville can game plan like this and get a lot out of their role players like they did tonight, they might be able to start getting back in the win column a little more regularly. And that's tonight's One Big Stat. Charlie?